policies, governance, and leadership. Every Monday to Friday from 4 to 5:30 p.m. on your super dial, Mainland 98.3 FM will welcome you your mates as we discuss the situations.
Good evening to you and welcome to the Situation Room on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. Always a pleasure to be with you on radio. It is the 24th day in the month of April 2024. Of course, a lot of things have been happening. Things always happen, and it is our responsibility to keep you up to speed with all of the events playing out within the country. And sometimes we even talk about things happening outside the country and the influence that it has on us as a nation. The Situation Room airs Mondays through to Fridays from 4 p.m. all the way to 5:30 p.m. We have political conversations, social-political conversations, socio-economic conversations, whatever it is that you aim to achieve listening to radio when it comes to information and analysis. I can assure you, in the Situation Room, you will definitely get everything that you desire. My name is Sage Babalola. On today's Situation Room, we're going to be diverting a little bit from politics. I do understand that a lot of things are happening in the political scene, especially with the primaries, the PDP, the APC, intra-party wrangling, inter-party wrangling, the EFCC and all of their many fits and their endeavors, the prosecutions going on, the warrants out for certain individuals. It's a lot going on within the political space. There's a lot going on when it comes to security. But then I do not want us to be so carried away by all of these happenings that we forget there are a number of things that are happening in our economic space, and whether we like it or not, all of these things are interconnected. So as we address all of the conversations or the controversies that are happening within the political space, I'd like us to also simultaneously pay attention to the economics that make up our country. And that's why we're going to be talking about the transportation sector this evening. And this is against the backdrop of the announcement that was made by the federal government only last week, that the federal government will be launching CNG buses by May 29 to commemorate the first anniversary of this administration. If you remember the MOU that was signed with the Labour Congress, the Nigeria Labour Congress, and also conversations that have been had regarding clean energy to take care of the issues with climate change, etc., etc. The use of compressed natural gas vehicles was something that was promised by the federal government. If you also remember the COP28 conversation as well, where the president and his entourage, they went to the UAE to have conversations about that. The CNG buses was something that came up a lot. So we want to have a conversation with the launch of the CNG buses that's supposed to happen on May 29 and the overall impact that is going to have on the transportation sector. That is the basis of the conversation for today in the Situation Room. Don't forget, we have the phone line open for you. We're live on social media. We stream live on Facebook and on YouTube, Mainland 98.3 FM. Or if you want a more precise line for that, you could check facebook.com/Mainland 98.3 FM. You're immediately connected with our live stream. Again, the conversation for today on the Situation Room is the transportation sector in Nigeria, with emphasis on the launch of the CNG buses. Of course, I'm going to be joined by a guest this evening. He is a public affairs analyst. His name is Mazi Chinedum Obioha. He'll be joining us virtually, and I'm actively trying to get him on the line, so not to worry. I'll get him on the line as soon as possible so that we can get straight into conversations for today. But then, whilst we wait to connect with my guest, let's lay some sort of foundation upon which we're going to build on majority of the questions that we would be asking of my guest. Now, about 11 months after removing fuel subsidy and promising to provide compressed natural gas and electric vehicles, as highlighted even in the MOU signed with the Labour Union, the federal government on the 22nd of April announced an imminent rollout of said CNG buses. President Bola Tinubu had in May of last year removed fuel subsidy, a development that sparked inflation, with energy costs for home and businesses rising exponentially. While the Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, that's Mr. Bayo Ononuga, in a statement, he said that the federal government, as part of its several intervention programs, to reduce the burden of increased pump price of fuel on the masses have provided 100 billion naira to purchase 5,500 CNG vehicles. They would also purchase 100 electric buses and over 20,000 conversion kits, alongside the development of the refilling station, the electric charging facilities, all of which we would explain as we get through the conversation. Well, this all started with the former President Muhammadu Buhari, who set up the auto gas policy, but it was stalled for whatever reason. Now, the president, of course, have started that scheme again, and it's been relaunched as the Presidential CNG Initiative, so that we can deliver cheaper, safer, and more climate-friendly energy. Well, just like I said earlier, we would be joined this evening by Mazi Chinedum Obioha, who is a public affairs analyst, as we look at the initiative of the federal government regarding the CNG buses and the impacts that it is going to have on the transportation sector. Mazi, good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's been so long we worked together. I'm very, very excited that I get to speak to you again.
It's my pleasure, because I always find it delight talking with you, working with you, interacting with you. I've promoted you, I've advertised you all over. I go even the East. I wish you were somewhere in the East. I would have taken you to some radio stations. In fact, I think
those still be away from my family here. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure hearing your voice once again. I joined you yesterday anyway, because I love listening to you.
Thank you so much. So let's get into the conversation of today, Nigeria's transportation sector. I know that we're going to talk about the CNG buses. That is the primary focus, but it would be unwise for us to start from the center, when we can very much start from what caused the problem that led to CNG buses initiative even being born at all. Let's talk about the transportation sector in itself. The Nigerian transportation sector, we know that transportation is not just about the movement of cars or trucks. It's logistics. It pretty much forms an essential part of the economics of any country. If you're unable to move goods, you're unable to move people, your economy would stall. So Mazi, give us some sort of overview of where you think the Nigerian transportation sector is at this time. If you were to talk about our transportation sector as a nation, how would you talk about it?
Yeah, thank you very much, Steve. It's unfortunate we find ourselves in a sorry situation in this country. Transportation, either land, sea, and air, has been a very serious issue in Nigeria, and it appears our leaders have not been paying adequate attention to transportation, because one, they don't use the land, they use the air. And if you want to ask me more, I remember in those days, it was very, very easy to transport goods from one end to the other, especially by sea and by rail. But today, it's only by sea to a certain point, and the road has suffered it greatly because of lack of planning and corruption anyway. So transport situation in Nigeria has been very, very bad. If you permit me to say it, it's something we need to discuss in a very bitter mood, so that our leaders will listen and do the needful if they have ears to hear.
Oh, thank you very much, Mazi, for talking about that. And I'm glad that you highlighted the rail system. That's just one state of all the 36 and the FCT. So yes, our rail system is also not in a state that we can brag about, as well as our road transport as well. So let's talk about the fuel subsidy, because that more or less kicked off this whole initiative for the CNG buses. May 29, 2023, we heard the president during his inaugural speech say subsidy was gone, and it sent shocks, throughout the entire economy. We saw the prices of transport costs go up exponentially. We saw businesses not being able to function for a bit because of the sudden change that happened after the president announced that subsidy was gone. I just want you to reiterate the impact that the removal of fuel subsidy had on people's ability to move from one place to the other. The sudden increase in the price of transportation that we saw, places that would ordinarily cost 100 naira became triple the price. We started having to pay up to 300 naira, etc., like that. Even when it comes to flying, we saw people having to pay thousands of naira for one trip, not even round trips, and it was this replicated across all the other modes of transport that we have within the country. So, like I said, the question kindly reiterates the damning impact that the removal of fuel subsidy had on people's ability to move from one place to the other.
Yeah, the impact has been very, very dicey, very, very killing on people, on Nigerian citizens. And personally, I've been badly affected. During the campaign, all the presidential aspirants agreed that the fuel subsidy should be removed. But some said that it has to be gradual. Some say that palliative should be put in place before the final removal of the subsidy. But unfortunately, on May 29th last year, the president came on board and said during his inaugural address, and he said what he said was not contained in his address. Maybe he has been thinking about it, he has it in mind. He said fuel subsidy is gone, and it became law. Nobody could challenge that. Then the effect of it has been very, very dangerous and very, very killing on Nigerians, including yours sincerely, Sɪᴛᴜᴜ. And you see, right from that time, a journey that normally takes 10,000 naira now jumped to 30,000, 40,000 naira. I remember I suffered it badly. I lost my wife within the period under review. In May, she died in August, and I buried her in November. And I chartered a bus from here, from Lagos here to Umaya, about 500,000 naira, which ordinary wouldn't have cost me up to 200,000 naira. The ordinary transportation from here to East was supposed to be 15,000, 16,000 naira. As I speak now, even with all manner of promises, as I speak now, from here to Maya, some buses transport company charge between 27,000, 30,000 naira as against 12,000, 15,000 naira. They talk about airfare. Now from here to Owerri, Port Harcourt, you are talking about 250,000 naira as against 50 or 60,000 naira. You don't talk about from here by air to Abuja, which is very, very high. So it has gone out of the reach of the common man. The implication is that it has made price of things, goods and services to increase beyond the reach of average Nigerians. People are lamenting. Even farmers are also suffering. Market women are suffering it. So it's a very dangerous thing that we lack planning. That's the truth about it. And do you know why?
Why?
If the road transport is working as it's supposed to be, we wouldn't have this problem. Because our leaders are not using the road. Even the rail are not there. I remember in those days, 50s, 60s, 70s, each manufacturing company has a rail track from the point of the port to their premises. They don't have any reason to be on the road. But today, the trucks, the articulated vehicles have taken over. I remember I just came back last week, my dear. It was a sorry situation that from Bini to Ure, or from Ure to Bini, Bini to Abo to Asaba to whatever has been taken over by articulated vehicle, by trucks carrying goods. So I remember a certain time last week we spent close to 4 hours at a particular junction, a journey that's supposed to take less than 6 hours. From here to Maya now or to Enugu takes you between 15, 16 hours. Some even to the next day. So it's a situation that we need to think about. The subsidy removal has created bad suffering to the citizens of Nigeria. And the federal government said they are releasing palliatives. We told them we don't need money. We need this road to be fixed. We need buses to be fixed, to be brought in. But you see, 11 months down the line, they are now contemplating. I don't know. Where is the sincerity? Where is the urgency? Where is the planning? That's the word of Nigeria. I'm saying that because our leaders don't have the interest of the masses at heart. That is why they do whatever. The removal of the fuel subsidy, there's nothing wrong in that. So, with implementation, and we, I said, before the fuel subsidy is removed, let there be palliatives put in place, not money, that the road should be fixed, the rent should be fixed. But unfortunately, it's gone and it's gone. Because they are not interested, they don't bother whether what the masses are suffering. How much is a cup of garena? How much is cost of rice? How much is cost of beans? How much cost of milk? Everything has skyrocketed because of fuel removal. So it's unfortunate, my dear.
Right, so thank you very much, Mazi. Before we proceed to more questions, please be aware once again that we're streaming this program live on our Facebook platform, also on YouTube, so do well to join us on Facebook. It's facebook.com/mainland 98.3 FM, or if you, for convenience, just search mainland 98.3 FM on Facebook, and then you can click on the live stream. As a matter of fact, you can start to drop your submission in real time. If you want to say something or comment on a statement that's being made by our guest, you can drop it, so that when we finally start taking contributions, we can get to it and read the messages that you drop. The phone lines will be open when we get through all of the questions that we have, not to worry. But then if you're just joining us, welcome. This is the Situation Room on mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. For today, our conversation is around the Nigerian transportation system, and this conversation we're having today is because of the announcement that was made on the 22nd of April that by May 29, CNG buses will be on the road. The federal government will launch the CNG buses as part of promises that was made to cushion the effect of the fuel subsidy removal that happened on May 29 of last year. Mazi Chinedu Mobioha is with me virtually this evening as we get through that conversation. My name, of course, is Sage Babalola. So, Mazi, of course, you have told us the implication of the fuel subsidy removal. Not like we didn't know, but then it was just supposed to lead us into the rest of the conversation that we have. Now, the federal government are very well aware of the consequences that fuel subsidy removal brought, especially on transportation. And you know, once there's a problem with logistics, well, anytime there's just a problem or an imbalance in fuel supply, demand, etc., it just affects every other aspect of the economy. And they thought to themselves, how can we in a way rectify the situation? Hence the idea for the CNG buses. And now they've told us that by May 29, at least 5,500 CNG buses would be available to the general public. What are your thoughts about this initiative? Is this an initiative you're excited about? The promise has been made. In how many months? In just a month, I believe, we would have CNG buses on the road. What kind of impact or expectations do you have with this announcement?
Yeah, you see, first and foremost, the government should work on the trust and credibility of themselves. Talk is cheap, like I've always said, you know me, and there's nothing wrong, and it's a welcome development. We will clap hand for them if it actually comes out to be reality. But my worry is the implementation. Will it not be hijacked by political parties? Will it not be hijacked by personalities? If the answer is no, then I join in celebrating that initiative. But my take is this: it will reduce cost of transportation. One, it will make it easy. But then you talk about gas. You see, people, it will now increase the cost of gas production, and people will now have alternative to either choose PMS or gas, and which means that it's expected in a normal situation that one will drop. Maybe the PMS will drop, but I doubt it very much. There's nothing that has gone up in Nigeria, and you see, it doesn't bear the law of gravity in Nigeria because of corruption and greed. So I expect the federal government to do the needful. This is not the first time we're having or we are hearing about this initiative. I think sometime many years ago, we had federal government assisted mass transit. We also had about labor assisted mass transit. We had so many things, but how did they work? The workability is what they will work. The workability is what we are talking about. The workability is what if it is properly planned and implemented, Nigerians will have a style of relief. But in Nigeria, because of the level of corruption, we doubt it very much. But me, I've always believed that seeing is belief. When we see it being introduced, when we see it being worked, when we see it being managed, of course, we lack maintenance culture. Then what about the roads? Will they fly? The same road we are talking about, that the buses we use, will they fly on air? You talk about the electronic one. Where are the lights? Where are the lights? So there are so many things. Have they put in place all these things before bringing it in? If they have, which we are not sure, we have not seen anything, because there's no light, there's no road. Did you know that between Ore and the Shagamu on Sunday we spent 3 hours because of flood? In some area between Bini and Asaba to Abo, we spent 5 hours because of bad roads, because of this articulated vehicles blocking everywhere. Again, if the government will not make the rail work, it will ease the transportation on the road. You see articulated vehicles going on the road. You see the buses, they are going on the road. Where do we see the end of all these things? So unfortunately, Nigerians are looking at them because we are tired. The one thing I have told you, they have to work on the credibility and sincerity of them. Nigerians have lost trust, they've lost confidence because they say one thing or the. It's not today. Remember, even the minimum wage, they say we should give them 8 weeks before the minimum wage is introduced. What is now? This is 11th month. Now they promise us that those mass transit to be introduced in a few months' time. This is 11th month. But if it comes out to be reality, we clap out for them. But seeing is believing.
All right. Well, Mazi, now let's talk about the transition from PMS or diesel-powered vehicles to CNG being compressed natural gas. The cost is something that has come up a lot, even when it was announced months ago that we would start using CNG buses so that people don't have to spend so much money having to buy PMS for their vehicle. And just like you said, if there's an alternative, we would see that the market would react and we might see a reduction in the price of PMS. But gas in itself is not exactly cheap. It's not as cheap as the average Nigerian would like it to be, because conversion from PMS to CNG, at least the average cost is about 300,000 to 350,000. And so maybe for a private car owner or somebody who's a little bit on the high up on the economic ladder, it might seem like a fair price, but they don't constitute the majority. We're talking now about the average Nigerian that mostly use public transportation. A Danfo driver, for example, might not necessarily be very enthusiastic about dropping 350,000 naira to convert his bus from a PMS powered vehicle to a CNG powered bus, and it's something that we have to consider. So let's talk about the cost of conversion. Do you think that maybe people should look away from the cost, how much it will cost for people to convert their vehicles from PMS powered to gas powered, and focus more on the benefits that it would offer them moving forward?
Yeah, thank you very much. The Holy Book says before you start to build a house, you have to sit down and consider the cost implication. Least you'll be stranded or you'll be stuck on the road. The same thing happens where people have alternative. Well, the primary aim of having alternative is to consider which way will be cheaper. Now, you said it all. How will a common Danfo driver be able or be willing to bring out 250,000 or above for conversion? You think you will do that? I'm happy to tell you, last September, when I got home, I saw so many people in the village using their generator being powered by gas, and I followed them. For the conversion, I spent about close to 80,000 naira because I have to buy the cylinder, I have to buy pipe, I have to change.
Mazi, you're talking about a generator now, just a generator.
Yes, I just mentioned. I'm just trying to analyze the cost of what they were doing here. So now, if I spend close to 100,000 in converting from petrol to gas for my one small generator, then how much do you think it will cost? People will consider this. Ordinarily, people would like to make a choice. Make a choice between using the gas or the PMS. But unfortunately, it is the same. Now gas is how much? It's about almost 19,000 for 12.5 kg. Yes, it's about 15,000. I bought one yesterday. So people will consider all these things. Ordinarily, when these things are put side by side, people will go for a cheaper one. But I don't see the possibility of PMS coming down because the price is being determined by the market force. So the PMS may not be so cheap, the gas may not be so cheap. The users will be stranded and they'll be left to make a better choice where they find it very cheap. And again, the workability. I don't see how a damper driver will be able to convert remove the carburetor from fuel consumption to gas consumption. It's very dicey, but let us see the implementation. Let us see the workability. Ordinarily, when these two are put in place, we're supposed to expect a drop in price of transportation. Both price of fuel pump, the pump price, we expect to see it, but I don't see it. Already, it will now escalate the price of gas because people will rush it to see where they will get relief. But then the corruption in the system will not allow it to work because people will like to hold the gas. Let me use the word, hold the gas. When they see that people have now moved from PMS to gas, they will begin to hold it, and people will now begin to think of going back to square one. In a normal situation, it should be a welcome development. People will be left with making alternative choice. Consider this. Okay, let me tell you now. We have filling stations. We have privately owned filling stations. We have also national filling stations like Mobile and things like that. But it's still the same price. We expect that if you go to this filling station, you consider whether it's cheaper than not. The same thing. Some even have changed their meters. So in Nigeria, we have to fight one common enemy. That is corruption. Corruption and greed among our leaders and our traders. The traders are not even helping matters. They exploit the masses. So it will be that the masses will also be the ones to suffer it. We expect a drop in price of both gas and the fuel, but I don't foresee it. But initially, it may be like that. At the long run, you see it going high, and people will regret even for the conversion. So normally, we're supposed to celebrate it because we have alternative. But one, the price and the availability of the gas. That's the issue we have to look. The availability of the gas to gas.
Thank you very much. That we're talking about the electric buses, but then we have to also set up stations where people go and fill the gas to the buses. And for the electric buses, we also have to set up stations where these buses are being charged, and that's going to cost a lot of money to set up the station. It's different. The cost for the buses themselves is a different cost to set up the stations where you go and refill the gas, where you go and charge the vehicles. How do we surmount all the many challenges that might most likely come out of this particular issue? I know we've spoken about cost, we've spoken about how cost effective it is, but there are still other challenges. Sustainability, for example, setting up the stations where people can go and charge. How are we going to power these stations, considering that we're still only doing about 4,000 megawatts? The station's going to be run by diesel or gas as well. How do we go about the fundamentals of all those other aspects? How do we focus on that?
Sage, you see, in 2013, I went to Calabar, and we decided to take a ride to that resource center at Calabar. That's I forgot where they use the electric car, and I looked at it and I said, and they say it's only use generator. They don't depend on NEPA. right? They don't depend on NEPA electrical. So you talk about the cost of setting it. By now, if the federal government want to actually achieve an objective, by now we have seen the stations, the filling stations open for gas refillment. We should have been able to see where those stations for
charging the electric vehicles.
Yes, charging it, but it's not there. We have not seen any. They've not told us they've opened this. You see, I begin to ask myself, do we lack planning? The answer is we don't plan at all. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. By May 2020, I mean 20 years, these things will come. But where are the stations for the gas? Where are the stations for the electric whatever? Is it going to, we are Russians, we rush things. Before the federal government comes out to make the announcement, these things should have been put in place. They should have been testing it, and there should have been awareness, creating awareness for people to know where to go and recharge, where to go and buy the gas, but we have not seen any. So are they going to build it overnight? And let me tell you one thing. Dangote refinery, it was commissioned by the former president, and they told us it's going to take effect by August. They postponed it to December. Only God knows. You see, procrastination is thief of time. I want to believe that if they want actually to succeed, certain things must put in place. Like I said, the Holy Bible said, if you want to build a house, you must sit down. There are certain things you need to put in place, and that is what we said before the fuel subsidy is removed. There are some certain things that needed to be put in place. So now you are bringing gas cars, you are bringing electronic cars. Where are the filling stations? Where are the filling stations? Where these things will be recharged? Where the gas are there available? And you talk about how many kilowatts that is, about 6 or 5 or 6 up to now. God bless you. I thought it has reached up to 6. Now you are not telling me from 1999 now we have not improved on the kilogram watts. We have not improved. Last time we had that the national grid collapsed how many times? Since this month, from last month till now, how many times do you have light? Do you have light in the studio there? I remember some radio station we shut down, no gas. The cost of gas is expensive. So, I mean, these are things we need to look at if we want to do the right thing. The right thing must be done, honestly. Honestly, if our rules work, if the federal government needs to do, I'm not saying they are not doing, if they actually sincerely want to achieve the objective, there are some certain things they need to put in place, even before coming out to say they are going to roll it out. Fine, good. We expect it to reduce cost of transportation, cost of everything, but then what is crying is still crying because we don't see all those, and that is why it appears those of us on the other side said they are not sincere. If they are sincere, let us see it. What you hold in your palm, you don't have to ask people, bring light, let me see it. We don't see all these things. You are telling us it will come out, it come out. Well, will it fly? It will not fly. It will not fly. Like I told you when I traveled to this Calabar sometime, I went to that Obudu Ranch. Yeah, that was Obudu Ranch. I was there. I climbed the hill. It is 250,000 feet below the sea level. It takes 30 minutes ascending and 25 minutes descending. And there is a particular route they say it is electric cars. But the 2 hours and 3 days there, I didn't see it because they said no light. They use generator. Shall we experience it up till now? The answer is no.
Mazi, thank you very much. Once again, if you're just joining us, please join our live stream on Facebook, facebook.com/mainland 98.3 FM. We're streaming the program live. You can start to drop your submission in real time as we get through the many questions that we have for our guest, Mazi Chinedum Obioha. Remember, the conversation is on the Nigerian transportation sector, as well as the announcement that was made by the federal government that by May 29, the CNG buses and electric buses would be available for public use. And so we're discussing what what kind of impact this is going to have on the transportation sector. And speaking of impact, Mazi, let's have a conversation about the expected direct and indirect influences that this introduction of CNG buses will have on the cost of transportation. Let's say we believe, right, or we actually see a manifestation of these CNG buses, just like they've promised that by May 29, the CNG buses and the electric buses will be available. What kind of impact can we expect? What should we expect that is going to happen to the transportation sector, and by extension to the prices of commodities? Because once we take away the cost on logistics, I mean, automatically by ripple effect, we should see that the prices of commodities should go down as well. So what kind of expectations should we have, say this initiative is actually launched and it becomes functional by May 29?
Yeah, my expectation, or our expectation, should be that to bring down cost of production, yes, cost of goods, cost of transportation as well, and the farmers will be able to have access to carry their goods from their produce from the farm to the urban centers for sales. And we expect that the price will drop. We also expect that I can now travel from here to Umahia with a lesser fee, and things like that. Then the influence that people will go for a cheaper one. People will now consider whether to go with the gas buses or the electric buses, whichever. My worry is this: people will be careful. People will not even believe them, because people will be afraid to join any of these buses, especially the electronic ones, except they have special arrangement for that. The influence is that ordinarily Nigerians will be happy to see that the alternative, and that will translate to drop in cost of production, drop in cost of whatever. That is it, and the people will rejoice. And many people will come back. People will like to join the transport business, because the people will now come out. And you see, when you buy goods, you consider the cost of transportation, you add it to the actual cost. But if the goods you buy and the cost of transportation is cheaper, people will be able to buy it. People will be able to make some profit. But unfortunately, what you buy today, in the next couple of minutes, the price will change. We want to see where we have a steady price control. We don't have price control. The influence we're talking about is the availability of all those things. The influence we're talking about is people will embrace it because it will be cheaper than the previous one. But when they test the two, they will now begin to make alternative. They begin to say, look, it is better we remain where we are, because they will now say the devil you know is better than the angels you don't know. That is the implication. And because they've lost so many confidence, they've lost confidence, they've lost trust in this government. When they introduce this, would there be sincerity in management? Would there be sincerity in maintenance? Would there be sincerity in all aspects? Because they've tested this, because there's nothing. There is nothing. Stage, we look forward to receiving it. And it is until when we get there, when we get to the bridge, we'll be able to cross it. But our expectation should be high, that we are expecting this type of gas and electronic means of transportation. We'll see it work. Our prayer is that it should work, so that some of these things will begin to have a sigh of relief. For now, Nigerians are bleeding. Nigerians are crying. You know, from here to SMS, how much is this? 1,000 naira. Was it so before? The answer is no. So when they introduce either electronic or the gas, we're able to know which one, whether you enjoy the electronic means of transportation or the gas means of transportation. Something that used to be 1,000 naira, they will reduce it to 500 naira, which is better. That's our hope. That's expectation. So it will influence everything. Nigerians will be able to sigh and say, of the truth, this government means what they want.
Let's have a conversation about the sustainability of this particular initiative. And I'm talking long-term sustainability goal for the continued use of the CNG and electric buses. We know that in most cases a partnership or collaborations are somewhat necessary for initiatives like this one, because there's a lot that should happen aside from the financial aspect of it. There's a lot of policies that would change. Gas policies are definitely going to change. There's a lot of adjustments that would have to be made to even the sector in itself. Maybe we would have to have new departments or ministries or something, you never can tell, to take care of certain aspects. So what do you think about the idea of partnering with the private sector to make this initiative more sustainable, or if you were to advise on techniques that the federal government can employ to ensure that this is not just another white elephant project where we just show a few buses and then we never see any on the road? What kind of techniques do you think they can employ to make sure that this is a long-term and very sustainable plan, not something that would happen 3 months and then we hear nothing of it moving forward?
Yeah, like I said, we lack maintenance culture. We lack maintenance culture. Let me tell you, the federal secretariat in 𝐴̀kọ̀, you go and see what is happening there. The former political parties build structures, build across the nation. Go and see what is happening there. If the government actually want to succeed, they should hands off. They should hands off. And they bring in genuine and sincere private participation. They can even decide to sell it out so that individuals, corporate bodies can come in to manage it. You see, in the late 70s, early 80s, when they introduced express train from Port Harcourt to the north, from Lagos to here, it was manned by Indians. Indians are good managers, and the moment they hand over to Nigerians, that was the end of its collapse. So if the government wants to sustain it, they should hands off and hand over it to private participation. Let individuals, interested individuals, corporate bodies come in, and we see the workability. But the goats owned by the public dies of hunger. So my take about that is that the government, the moment they introduce it, for them to sustain it, it should not be controlled, it should not be managed by the government. They should sell it. They can even sell it on the ask them to buy shares. People can buy shares. Look at MTN. Look at other communication companies that other individual participated. They are working. Why can't government think about that? Why can't government say, look, we are bringing this, we want you to come, so that one, you give room for mass employment, not rigid, not monopolizing it, not party affairs, because the money that is used to acquire this is, or to bring this, it's not meant for a political party, it's not from a political party, it's Nigerian money. It belongs to everybody. So the public should be involved in it. Public participation is what I am recommending. I am not saying the government should handle it, because the government cannot. They will now transfer it or hand it over to party faithfuls, party supporters, and it will just die like any other one. So my take there is that the public should be made to come in to contribute. To buy shares. It should be thrown open. They should go to stock exchange. Let people come in and buy shares and let it work. Because the government will not be able to maintain. There will be no maintenance culture. I'm just telling you. That's my personal opinion.
So you have the opinion that instead of a partnership, because I was thinking like you recommend a partnership between the federal government and the private sector, you think they should completely hands off and allow private individuals take care of it, just to be clear?
Yes. Because the government can bring it and they run it for a period of time, maybe not more than 1 year. Then invite the public, interested public people, interested corporate bodies, and give them modalities, not like what happened in the Nepal when they unbundled it. They sold it to their individual girlfriends and boyfriends. They sold it to their in-laws and their fathers-in-laws. and that is what we're experiencing now. The government should be transparent in how to handle it, so that we will see the light of it. Otherwise, it will be short-lived.
All right. So, well, I know that we mentioned earlier, the road transport, the road sector, or should I, how do I put this now? The road infrastructure, that's the better way to put that. We spoke briefly about the road infrastructure in Nigeria, and yes, this is a very laudable initiative. The CNG buses, the electric buses, high hopes for the impact it's going to have on the cost of transportation, also the efforts that we're trying to put into clean, renewable energy because of climate change, and also the benefits are very, very clear. We understand it, but these things work hand in hand. There's no initiative, there's no project that is in isolation or works in isolation. For us to really enjoy the benefit of these buses, we have to consider our road infrastructure in the country. And for a country that is somewhat urbanized, or states, for example, like Lagos, that is highly urbanized, we have over 200 million people in the country, right? And it's quite unfortunate that we still have a road infrastructure that is as abysmal as this one that we have right now. So what plan do you think they need to set in motion, such that as much as we're launching this whole transportation initiative, we're actively thinking about how to rectify our road infrastructure so that these things can work hand in hand? Because if the roads are terrible, chances are we would be seeing damages to these buses, and then our maintenance culture is not anything to write home about. So it would just increase our cost of having to fix these buses because the roads are bad. So how do we simultaneously work on the buses and also fix the bad roads that we have in the country?
Yeah, you have answered my question you asked me. Because, you see, I started by saying, before you build a house, a beautiful house, you must sit down and know the cost implication. In this case, we are talking about the road infrastructure that is very, very bad all over the federation. I've told you my experience, and I want you as a journalist, I want your organization to go and sample opinion of what I've said. Is it from Lagos to Ibadan? From Ibadan to Abeokuta, from Abeokuta to Shagamu to Ore, to do you have good roads? These buses that we introduce, where would they fly? So I'm suggesting, submitting is that before these things, our roads should work. The articulated vehicles should be up the road, so that the roads, when built, will be last. I was discussing with a friend or with a sister radio station in Omaya last 2 weeks. I said, between 1999 till now, how many minister for works have been had? And still we are still complaining, I will fix this road, I will fix this road. The roads we are fixing, are they going to heaven? Can they be finished? Babatunde should have spent 8 years. The roads, some of the roads be built, they started even going bad, right? So the roads are bad. You talk about from Onitsha to Owerri to Aba. You talk about from Onitsha to Enugu. You talk about from Enugu to Benue State, Otubo, Obelafo. You talk about the ones from Niger. You talk about the Sokoto. Talk about the Niger, or you talk about Maiduguri. The roads are bad. So what we are saying is that before you introduce this thing, these are the palliative we are talking about, that the road should be good, motorable, so that when you are traveling, you will be able to leave the point of departure to the point of arrival in a reasonable time. From here to Omaya, you spend close to 14 hours. Last time I traveled, I got to my village 11 p.m. While my sister-in-law didn't get to my village, the following day, they slept at Benin from Lagos there. You can imagine that. So is it not the same road that these buses that they are planning to introduce will fly? Will they fly? The answer is no. The road should be made motorable. And let them walk on the road. It is in Lagos here that we enjoy. It's no longer like that. Even from my own, from Aba to Enugu, the rest are not there. Farmers have taken over. You cannot even see the red tracks again. I'm just telling you. I stand to be corrected, and I want you to go investigate it. So we are saying, so before you introduce this thing, let this thing, I know it's little by little. But you can't bring in something and tell it's going to work. Are they going to fly? We are in Nigeria. We know this road. The roads are bad. You are telling us the same road that the ordinary vehicle will use, the same road that the buses will use. Where are they going? Are we not going to see that people will be stranded on the road? What about the security you talk about? Last year or 2 years ago, we had that people traveling from Kaduna to Abuja, they were kidnapped on the road by rail. And only God knows how much the federal government spent, if they actually spent anything. Somewhere kidnapped. I remember a lady calling for the former vice president. You were my classmate, come and rescue me. They talk about security. Security is key. Where in Nigeria we will now travel with their 2 eyes closed? The answer is no. We read and we hear the kidnapping, banditry, Boko Haram here and there on the road. Is it the same road that this person will fly? Where are the security? So there are a lot of things to be considered.
We're going to take a break in another about 5 minutes, though, because we have to take the headline news. But whilst we're waiting to take the headline news, let's have a conversation about expanding the initiative across all the states in Nigeria. Of course, this is not just something that would happen in Lagos State. The distribution would happen, although I don't think a distribution timetable has necessarily been announced, because I don't believe the 5,000 buses will be in only 1 or 2 states. There are going to be a select amount of states that would get some of these buses. We don't know how many buses would be delivered to how many states. We don't have the timetable yet, but what do you think about the expansion, the distribution of these buses? What metrics do you think are going to be used? Is it going to be based on states that they think need it the most, states that usually are paying more for PMS? As much as we're paying like 600 naira for PMS here in Lagos, there are some states in the north, even in the east, that they're paying as much as 800 naira, according to reports that we've had. So what metrics do you think they're going to use in distributing these buses, and what do you even think about the idea of expanding this project across the 36 states and the FCT?
Let us start. I think they are starting with Lagos. Let us see the workability in Lagos. If it works well, then we can now begin to talk about the extending into other states that have the facility. You understand me?
I'm with you.
Yes. So let us start from, just like when they introduced the cashless policy. It worked for some time in Lagos before they extend. But even at that, we talked about the rural areas where they are unbanked. Remember what happened during the cashless policy and during the Naira changing whatever early last year and something like that. We said there are some rural areas that don't have banks. And up till now, do you know that a liter of fuel is being sold between 700 naira and 1,000 naira in some states, including my own state? In Umaja, you don't buy fuel. That's PMS. You don't buy it as you don't buy it less than 750, 730, 800. In the rural area, it's been sold for when they buy it in Umaja at 100 naira, 800 naira. They go to the villages and sell it at between 900 and 1,000 naira. I have been living with it. I'm not saying it that I want to say it. So these are the things. When they introduce it, let us see the workability and the effectiveness in Lagos State and Abuja. Then from there we begin to now say if the workability is fine, they now begin to say, okay, we can now extend it to another state. We can now begin to extend it. But let it not be that it will be handled by the political parties. Because I foresee a situation, what happened during the lockdown. Palliative said they were sending to people. They sent it to the health register where they call names. You know, I was in the studio where you were there, sent, where I was able to say, I challenge you. I was in this place. Look at how the palliative were being shot. So when these things are put in place, they start with Lagos and Abuja. The next point could be Ada Port Harcourt, Enugu, Benin, Ibadan. From there, they begin to see the workability, effectiveness before other states that have the capacity to do it. But for now, let us see how it works in Lagos. Let us see how it works in Abuja. Because not only Lagos is Nigeria, not only Abuja is Nigeria. Not only Kano is Nigeria, not only Port Harcourt is Nigeria, all over, and all the states should benefit from it. No discrimination. It should not be delivered through party agents. It should be delivered to. That's why we said when we had issue with the people that died in custom some time ago, early this year. We said must everybody go to custom zonal office to collect that right? Why can't they distribute to local government? So these things should be managed. There should be sincerity in management. There should be sincerity in workability. There should be sincerity in distribution. Not when I know not all the states will get the same number of vehicles. Lagos, Abuja should get more because of the population.
Yeah.
Yes. So then other states will not just like what is happening. We are saying, not in a state you give them only 2 buses. Some states you give them 20. Some states you give them 10. Let there be justification. Let there be equal distribution based on population.
All right, Mazi, thank you very much. Like I said, we have a break for 5 p.m. so we can take the headline news. We would reconnect with you right after we take the news and a few commercials. For those of you just joining us, well, you have missed a lot, but not to worry. That's the benefit of our social media platform, because once this program is over, it's uploaded on our Facebook platform and you can go and watch the program from start to finish. You can even engage with other people that are using the live chat option. That is the beauty of our social media, which is why I encourage you to like, follow, share the programs that we air on our social media platform. You can even join us live right now on Facebook at facebook.com/mainland 98.3 FM. I'm talking to Mazi Chinedum Obioha today on the Situation Room. The conversation is about the Nigerian transportation sector. We're talking about the introduction of the CNG and electric buses that have been announced by the federal government, one that is expected to launch on the 29th of May in commemoration or celebration of the first year anniversary of this administration. We're talking about the workability, we're talking about the sustainability, we're talking about the cost, and even the distribution process, amongst other things. After 5 p.m. we'll be back to continue the conversation and of course take...
You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM.
Mainland 98.3 FM, your number one radio. Reaching stars, the sound of Lagos.
That you were searching for the station to get. It's right here. I mean, here. 98.3 Mainland FM. Mainland 98.3 FM. Don't touch the dial. 98.3 FM. Don't touch the dial.
Headline news on 98.3 Mainland FM.
Good evening. Headline news on Mainland 98.3 FM. My name is Omobola Sandra. Wike's loyalists reject Fubara's redeployment, resigns as Rivers Commissioner. Jimoh Ibrahim and 4 others appeal Aiyedatiwa's victory in APC primary. Federal government revokes additional 924 dormant mineral licenses. CGN Ariwola says it's the responsibility of judiciary to deliver justice to the people. Aviation Minister Keyamo suspends Dana Air operations. Africa Union, ECOWAS harp on joining forces to combat insecurity. On the foreign scene, U.S. Congress approves historic foreign aid cap package for Ukraine after months of delay. In sports, young Chelsea fan pleads with players to fight for shirt during humiliating defeat to Arsenal. That's the headline news on Mainland FM. Details at 5:30.
You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. The sound of Lagos.
have a way of taking us on a journey, and when you add plenty of vegetables like 𝐹𝐴, ugu, and season with the rich taste of Knorr seasoning cubes, even better.
So, go ahead and elevate your meals with more vegetables and the rich taste of Knorr cubes. Today, eat for good.
New Lafarge water shield cement now confirm. Number one waterproof cement for Naija. Ogbonge cement for waterlogged areas. Number one waterproof cement for Naija. New Lafarge water shield cement number one. New Lafarge waterproof cement now confirm. Good full stop for water wahala. With Lafarge water shield cement, water to collect. If water jam house, foundation and basement to God, wash it. Ogbonge cement for waterlogged areas. Number one waterproof cement for Naija. Lafarge, cement. New Lafarge water shield cement and confirm.
Put full stop for water wahala.
Who takes a plate of jollof rice to the next level of goodness? Is it when it is cooked with Knorr seasoning cubes for that sumptuous taste? Or when you serve it with correct Nigerian salad, cabbage, carrot, lettuce, and a bit of kidney beans?
It's both. Season your jollof with the rich taste of Knorr cubes and serve with plenty of vegetables. So, go ahead and elevate your meals. Today, eat for good.
New Lafarge water shield cement now confirm. Number one waterproof cement for Naija. Ogbonge cement for waterlogged areas. Number one waterproof cement for Naija. New Lafarge water shield cement number one. New Lafarge waterproof cement now confirm. Good full stop for water wahala. With Lafarge water shield cement, water to collect. If water jam house, foundation and basement to God, wash it. Ogbonge cement for waterlogged areas. Number one waterproof cement for Naija. Lafarge, cement. New Lafarge water shield cement and confirm.
Put full stop for water wahala.
Who takes a plate of jollof rice to the next level of goodness? Is it when it is cooked with Knorr seasoning cubes for that sumptuous taste? Or when you serve it with correct Nigerian salad, cabbage, carrot, lettuce, and a bit of kidney beans?
It's both. Season your jollof with the rich taste of Knorr cubes and serve with plenty of vegetables. So, go ahead and elevate your meals. Today, eat for good.
New Lafarge water shield cement now confirm. Number one waterproof cement for Naija. Ogbonge cement for waterlogged areas. Number one waterproof cement for Naija. New Lafarge water shield cement number one. New Lafarge waterproof cement now confirm. Good full stop for water wahala. With Lafarge water shield cement, water to collect. If water jam house, foundation and basement to God, wash it. Ogbonge cement for waterlogged areas. Number one waterproof cement for Naija. Lafarge, cement. New Lafarge water shield cement and confirm.
Put full stop for water wahala.
Meals have a way of taking us on a journey, and when you add plenty of vegetables like 𝐹𝐴, ugu, and season with the rich taste of Knorr seasoning cubes, even better.
So, go ahead and elevate your meals with more vegetables and the rich taste of Knorr cubes. Today, eat for good.
Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos.
Things seem anxious and uncertain. I understand.
be harshly defaced. I wish there were other ways, but there's not. If there were,
In our quest to bring to the table issue-based conversation around nationhood and development, we have made 4 to 5:30 p.m. Monday to Friday the perfect time to welcome you into the Situation Room as we continue to build the narrative about public service and accountability.
Mr. President, this Senate needs to know. Mr. President, this Senate needs to lend its voice to the plight of these people. Mr. President, there is nowhere I can say it except here. This is why I'm elected. If I cannot say these things on this floor, sir, I better resign and leave.
As elections give the citizens the chance to make their political decisions, constant demand for quality leadership from those they voted into office.
Look at us, man. There is nothing. We are starving. Tinubu should please do something.
It's also important to having a Nigeria of everyone's dream. Join 𝐴꿼ʀᴏ as it takes to task seasoned analysts, opinion makers, business professionals, and politicians on issues around politics, policies, governance, and leadership. Every Monday to Friday from 4 to 5:30 p.m. on your super dial, Mainland 98.3 FM will welcome you your minutes as we discuss the situations.
Welcome back and thank you for staying on standby. We appreciate you for your patience. This is still the Situation Room on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. My name is Sage Babalola. If you joined us from 4 p.m., you realize that we've been talking about the transportation sector and the plan of the federal government to introduce CNG and electric buses into our transportation sector. All of this was born out of a technique to provide some sort of support to the people following the removal of fuel subsidy. And so we're discussing expectations. Should this initiative actually launch on May 29 as promised by the federal government? Are we going to see a likely reduction in the cost of transportation? Are we going to see a secondary improvement in the prices of commodity because logistics is supposed to improve? Are we going to see job creation, for example? What are the many benefits that we should expect from this particular initiative? And I have had the pleasure of speaking with Mazi Chinedum Obioha, who is a public affairs analyst, and we've been able to get through the most fundamental parts of these conversations. It's now time for us to open the phone line so that we can hear from you. What ideas do you have about the plan of the federal government? Do you believe that by May 29 the introduction of the CNG buses will in a way cut down the cost of transportation in the country? Also, what secondary initiatives do you think they need to put in place so that we can enjoy to the fullest the benefit of this very initiative of the federal government? What other aspects of our economy do you think should be fixed so that we're able to take care of the problems in the transportation sector? Mazi, thank you for being on standby. Welcome back to the program.
Once again, my pleasure for having me.
Yes. So before I start taking our phone calls, I want us to talk about the public response to this initiative, which we're definitely going to see the minute we open the phone lines. But as somebody who's out there, and lucky enough, you've actually gone through the conversion process, only that you did it for your generator and not your car, right? But how do you think the public have been reacting? Because this is not something that started since 2023. They've announced it. They even said in 36 months we want to be able to have converted about at least 10 million vehicles. That's the promise that was made initially in 2023, but that in the next 36 months at least 10 million vehicles should have been converted from PMS powered to gas power. So from everything you've seen, from the interactions you've had with people, what do you think has been the public reaction to this plan by the federal government?
I want to sincerely tell you without sort of contradiction that many people are not aware of it.
Oh.
There has not been proper awareness. Our whatever, the Ministry of Information, Orientation Agency, what are they doing? In my village, in my state, people don't know anything about that. Like I said, people, I didn't see it throughout my period in the East. I didn't see people trying to start using the gas with their vehicles or things. I didn't see it. But I saw people using it for the generators. So there has not been any proper awareness. People are not aware of it. Radio and televisions. What are the introduction of these two sides of
the CNG and electricity? Yeah.
Yes. So, but I want to tell you that people are not aware. Very people, the rural areas are not aware. But then you may ask me, you may say that it's not time for them to use it. Nigerians, especially those in the urban cities, should be able to know that very soon we are going to expect something like that. But within themselves, maybe they want to wait until when they introduce before they begin to create awareness. People are not aware. But if people have been informed about the benefit, people will not begin to discuss it. People will like to now put it in practice when it takes off. But for me now, people are not much aware. Not many people are aware.
Right.
I'm sure 95% Nigerians are not aware of what is happening.
Mazi, would like you to stay on the line whilst we take the phone calls, but let me start by reading the few WhatsApp, I beg your pardon, Facebook messages that we've gotten since the start of the show. Dayo Dada on Facebook says, "Good evening, Sage. I want to ask a question. Since when has or what has Nigerians benefited from this government? Inflation, corruption, and tears. They increased the price of fuel, the price of school fees, electricity tariff, even house rent. There's hardly any food. Then they will tell you to tighten your belt while they live large. Like prodigal children, they have turned the people to beggars in the midst of plenty. The worst thing is that Nigerians will have to bear this nightmare in the next 3 years and some months. It's a shame that the worst of us is ruling the best of us." Okay, Dada, thank you, but I don't think it correlates directly to what we're talking about today, but we still appreciate you for your message. We have Prince Leo Ozoma on Facebook who says, "Good evening, Sage, to you and your guest in the studio. The removal of fuel subsidy was the biggest mistake this present administration made without proper articulation on how to manage the negative offshoots that will come out of the removal. The provision of the CNG bus is a good idea and a viable alternative to cushion the effect." Hold on a second, we lost that message. To cushion the effects that will be experienced by commuters in Nigeria. But the major problem with carrying out such projects is that most times it's not properly conceived because we do not have proper data to even carry it out efficiently. For instance, how many people need such service in Lagos State? How many buses will be able to meet up the requirement as well as other states? When you factor in the effect of corruption and the cost of this project, it will be far above affordability and the budget. The proper use of data will take care of other things needed to make it more efficient and sustainable. When you plan without data, you have planned to fail. The government should take the issue of data seriously." Leo Ozoma from Isolo, Lagos. Thank you very much. We have Oluwatosin Williams who says, "Good evening, Sage Amazi. Until we solve the problems in the power sector and gas sector of our economy, the CNG initiative and electric-enabled transport policies will turn out to be a policy somersault because as we speak, the required manpower needed to drive the policy is not sufficiently available. For instance, where are the technicians and engineers? Have they been recruited? Where are the electric recharge and gas stations? Where are the component and kits company to provide spare parts and other support services? What will be the pricing policy for CNG gas station and electric charge station? And moreover, how safe and efficient will the gas cylinders be while commuting? Let's consider the state of our roads and other environmental factors. The government are joking because I do not see any good coming out of this policy. To me, it is dead on arrival. It will turn out just like other previous policies of the government." Oluwatosin Williams on Facebook sent that message. Now let's take our phone calls and hear what our listener has to say. Hello. Hello, good evening.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
evening.
Yes, welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much.
My name is
Welcome, sir.
Bruce.
You see, CNG bus, number one, it's just robbing Peter to pay Paul. Okay, the money is not from subsidy. They said they got the money to buy CNG bus. Why didn't just they give that money to that fuel subsidy? Now, as I'm talking to you now, for me, if we can make sure that Nigerians get electricity, let our industry start working first. Is it not somebody that has money that will go and enter CNG bus? Let our food be affordable. As we speak now, paint bucket of garri is 3,500. I used to buy a bag of garri before. The same amount I used to buy a bag of garri, 20 paint buckets,
can only afford 3 paint buckets now.
Pastor Ambrose, can I ask you something briefly? You have your time. Most of these traders say that it's the cost of moving these things that tells on the price of the commodity. So if we have cheaper transportation, don't you think the cost of this gari that we're talking about would, by extension, be reduced?
Just like Mazi said, these CNG buses are for the urban areas. So they are not for the rural areas. I can assure you that the best this CNG buses can do is to carry passengers from Lagos to Benin to east to north. They won't go to these rural areas. And when you look at the colossal sum of money that they want to put into these CNG buses and the money that they are giving to politicians, from state governors to local government chairmen, you will discover that the money is so much. But Mr. President, he knows what to do. He should try and write his name on a map so that when he, because of his age, when he lives there, people will remember him. As of today, and people are not finding things easy at all.
Thank you,
so
Pastor.
PNG bus is something that he can. Most of these things are good, but the timing, there are things that.
Thank you, Pastor Ambrose. We appreciate you for your yes. Hello, good evening. Please turn down the volume on your radio. Please, you're live. Turn it down. Thank you. Hello.
John from Oba.
Welcome, sir. Please go ahead.
The project is commendable, but like the last time I said, it's not what we need for now. Say,
I'm with you, sir.
What is wrong about fixing our refinery? Is there anything behind it? All this money you are deploying, you are building roads, you are doing this. We know where this problem came from. The problem came from the increment of fuel prices. Why did you not freeze our refineries? Is there anything behind it now? That is there more to read than media? Why don't you provide stable electricity now, for God's sake? We will not be talking anymore, I can assure you. SMEs are going into moribund. Companies are folded up. More are still about to fold up. And the prices of petrol is not even all that. It's too high. Why? What is the problem about this? Fixing our refinery, making sure that our life is uninterrupted. Combat those that are in the bush that are killing our farmers. Just these 3 things. Livable production. Then you want to wait. The things will go back to normal now. We will enjoy our life. We have our life back.
Thank you.
The idea of
thank you for calling. Listen to you.
Hello.
Yes, I'm with you. Good evening.
Good evening to you. Yeah, my friend. Good evening, sir. Thank you. We thank you for hearing your voice this afternoon from our lovely station. Fantastic. See, number one, this CNG bucket that's coming. For me, I'm very happy about it. What are we talking about? If somebody makes a promise and the publicity will be late, then we thank God it's coming. And I want to advise the federal government. And it's over to Labour Congress for management. Give it to them and send the EFCC after them. Those which are managing it, they should try to be moderate, to be corrupted, the fellow that will handle the project. Send it every state. We can't be fight ourselves. We majority of Nigeria want something to go. I have gone for good. That Mr. President say it's not go beyond 600 plus. So it means that interference that they are giving us. Look at this in the market. Around 1,002, 1,001, but the petrol still remains 650, is NFP below 600. I know this is very painful, but the future is bread for Nigeria. As of today, I always say, with food it is declared emergency of food production, emergency of security. If what is taking place, I think food is in the market. So for me, what is coming up, I'm appreciating my president, and I want them to allow the Labour Congress to manage it.
Thank you.
That's my stand this evening.
Thank you,
Very good evening to you.
Thank you, and to you too as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Mazi, let's have a brief conversation about what Prince Wise has said, right? I feel like people are forgetting rather than, aside from cutting down the cost of transportation, the whole idea of the CNG buses and the electric buses as well is to align ourselves with the whole conversation around clean, renewable energy, because people have said we've made, crude the mainstay of our economy. We've dumped the weight of our economy on crude, such that anything that happens with crude, it affects us. But if we use clean, renewable energy, it would help us. It would also help in climate change, etc., etc. So they're not just looking at one benefit, they're also looking at using this in a way to address climate change issues.
Like Prince Wise, you are guilty. And this that they don't find, some of this there, but let our refineries are working, we can sure go to come towards that. They have been stressing a lot, trying also to take how will they survive. Let the refineries work. These things are good, but we don't need it. It will not bring down the price of goods. What will bring down the price of goods and services is the good road network. And the refineries will be able to buy diesel, fuel cheap. And the farmers will be able to go to the farm and work and bring their produce.
Right.
These are the things we need for now.
Right, Mercy, let's take more phone calls, all right? Thank you very much. Hello. Good evening to you. The situation is... Please turn down the volume on your radio. Thank you. Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
So it's good evening. Yeah, Babalola is my name. Sure that people are provided supporter. But until we invite, it will not stand. Let all those be coming up as well. Look, since you want, that even make it to come can invite, but if you can, we are lacking
for this eve, such that you're willing to take the clock. The conversation that you tune in to. Appreciate you for your conversations with you. Now that I know that
very intelligent lady.
Thank you. And happy for the opportunity.